My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2 and the Deluxe DLC series in the American Southwest. Today's episode starts just overlooking the steel mill on the outskirts of Carrollton. Previously we activated this steel mill. We have coal and iron being produced here, being shipped into here I should say, and the steel that is produced from that coal and iron is used to feed the nearby goods factory as well as the machinery factory off to the far edge of the map as well. I can't remember the town name. It's been about half a week since I recorded, so you'll have to bear with me. I think it starts with a J, but that's as much as I can remember. Obviously that's not important. What is important, however, and I think I may have pointed it out in the previous episode, I can't quite recall, is the amount of coal that we have coming in here when we're struggling to keep up essentially. We are feeding it just from one source. Now that source it doesn't expand its level at all. It produces a maximum of 400 units of coal per calendar year, so every 12 minutes in game. And that's as much as it will ever produce, no more, no less. Now we're pretty much hitting around about 400 I believe on the delivery rates. We'll check that in a few moments when we bring the UI up. But either way, I think we're going to need some more coal being supplied into this industry just so we can have a faster throughput of steel to the machinery factory and to the factory as well, because both of those industries require the steel. So if we bring up the UI, we can take a look at the coal, and at good timing we have one of the coal trains just arriving right now. So if we go to the line itself, yeah, look at that, we're not quite 400, but we're pretty close to 400 per year, and squeezing out an extra 30 units of coal per year is not going to make a huge difference to this. Iron isn't a problem as we can see, although when we start producing more coal, the situation may reverse and it may be iron that's in short supply. But as it stands right now, it's coal where we are struggling. That's our bottleneck. If we look at the consumers, it's the West Jordan, I knew there was a J in there somewhere. Yeah, the West Jordan Machinery Factory and the Clearwater Goods Factory both need this both need the steel, and we need to up those rates if we're gonna be nice and successful and make Carrollton grow as much as we can. So I did mention there was a coal mine, get the orientation correct, I believe that's the correct, yes that's it, no there we go. Yes, there is a coal mine down here at Nashville, and we do have the iron ore line that runs all the way down here, there it is, already running in close proximity to the Nashville coal mine. So I think it makes perfect sense to get a station here and connect it into this line somehow. Now the obvious and the gut feeling would be to connect into here because it's a nice short distance. However, I'm more open to the idea of coming this way through and connecting it up here. Here we're double tracked already, so we wouldn't need to worry about expanding the size of the network. We might want to increase this to double track because from there to there it is all single, but then from here through to the steel mill itself, again we are double tracked. What are you shipping? Are you the one that ships steel? Yes you are. Yeah, so all we'd have to do is a bit of double track in there, and I think there was a little bit more. No, was it just that one bit? Yep, just here. So from that signal to that signal, we'd lay down a second run of track, so we have two tracks, so we could have one going either direction of course, and that'll just mean once we have extra coal or extra trains, we'll have the iron and the coal trains coming down here. We should avoid any major traffic problems because it'll be a bit more free flowing. They're not going to have to wait until this single block here gets cleared. So that's what I think we're going to do. So let's get started straight away. Let's get ourselves a nice cargo station. We only need one platform for the time being, but we are going to go for the 320 meter platform length, and we are going to turn off that catenary. We don't need it at the moment, and let's just get down here and see if we can find a nice place to to build this station where it's not going to cause mayhem with the landscape. Now I think the best place is going to be, let's see here, maybe like that is probably the best of, you know, the best what we can do. The terrain here is very constrained, it's very tight, and I don't think we're going to get much better than that. We will have to smooth it out, of course, because at the moment, especially on this end here, it just doesn't look the best at all. So we'll do a little bit of, oh, wrong tool, yeah, the smoothing tool, there we go, just to blend it out and make it look a little bit more natural and reasonable. And what we'll do here, we will flatten this bit, and we'll just flatten through that outcropping there like that, and then maybe just smooth off the sides, just to, again, make it look a little bit more natural. And then we have a more logical exit for the train line as it leaves to connect into the infrastructure. Right, so the station's in position. It's going to do a good enough job for us, or at least it's going to do what we need it to do. The next thing is to make sure it's connected to the industry itself. So we'll just run a nice simple road until we have one of those connection paths just there. And what the heck, we may as well connect it to that road there just to fill it all out and make it look a little bit more logical and sensible. Yep, there we go, that's fine. So let's just rename this to the Nashville Coal Mine while we're in the area. And then what we want to do is get a track that comes obviously from the platform edge here to somewhere along here. It doesn't have to be straight down here, but anywhere along this stretch here, just to connect it all together. So what we'll do, we'll keep this at the current gradient, and yeah, okay, well I think we'll set a soft limit of 50 miles per hour for this track here. And if we can bring that back a bit, we can probably, in fact, turn the catenary off as well. We can get that 50. I mean, 55 was fine, but if we can get the corner done shorter, then we can start having straighter tracks much sooner and start to build, or start to allow our trains to build up to their maximum speed, hopefully. So a little tunnel through there. We probably want to come a bit more aggressively on that corner, because we're wanting to head up this way, and if we were coming down here, then we'd have another very tight turn here, which would see us sacrifice some speed. So we'll avoid that by having a more aggressive turn in the tunnel itself, but we still manage to maintain that 75 miles per hour speed on that corner. So now we're just going to see what we can do to connect in. Okay, it looks like we're going to have to lose a bit of speed on this corner here. I don't really want to tunnel through that. Not when we have open sky right here. It wouldn't make sense. I mean, it would mean the trains don't lose any speed, of course. But I think in real life you'd save money on the tunnel, and you know, at the cost of your trains potentially running a little bit slower by having a tighter radius there. Right, so what's this? What gradient are we looking at here? 2.9%. Can we improve that by stretching it out? 2% is not too bad. In fact, we can get it down to about 1.8. Okay. Now here we have to see, can we get another turn, another corner, without sacrificing too much speed? And we also want to make sure we're coming in at the right height to meet in with these train lines without any issues with the overlap. So we're at 17 meters, or these lines here are at 17 meters. So that's what we want this fellow to be aiming for, 17. See, we're quite a bit, well, we're substantially lower there. We're down to 13 meters. So I think what we'll do then is this bit here where we dropped off, we'll just have it elevated, or rather we'll have it maintain its current height, because that's at 14 meters and that's a lot closer, and there's no point dropping down to start climbing back up again. If anything, we want to start climbing up from here. So we'll do that. We'll go up by 1 meter to 15. That's a very, very small gradient, and it's not going to have an adverse effect on the performance of our trains in any way. And we want to get this to 17, don't we? So let's just adjust that until we hit 17, which is right there. Can we get more speed out of that? Not by doing that, we can't. 67 looks about the best we're going to get. And again, let's just pull that down ever so slightly. Maybe to there, like that. And then what we want to do now is have you... In fact, we may as well have it go parallel. Oh, it's up to 19 meters there, but that's not a problem. Yeah, we'll have it go parallel just a little while. That way we know we're going to get a nice overlap when we do merge these lines together. And at this point we'll see if we can merge it through at as much speed as possible. So that's 70 miles per hour there. Can we improve on that? No, we can't. It starts to be funny. So we'll get to that 70. There it is, 70 miles per hour just there. That's fine. And now we just have to double track this back to the Nashville coal mine. Now, because this track is going to be on the internal radius of this corner, this is going to be a little bit slower than the one we just laid down. As we can see there, it drops to 66 miles per hour. That's still tolerable and acceptable. Anything above 50 when you're away from the stations is what I tend to aim for. When you're a bit close to the stations, as I often say, it doesn't really have such a heavy impact, because you tend to find your trains will be running a little bit slower anyway, because they're either coming to a stop at that station or they've just departed the station, so they're not quite up to full speed in the space available to them. And then we'll merge this together, and we can see here, look, this is perfect example of this. So we're going to drop to 38 miles per hour. That's made that track kink out there, which I really don't want it to do, which looks weird. That looks better. Yes, we're down to 35. But because we're coming to a stop anyway, it doesn't matter. And there's no way our trains from here to here will be in excess of 35 miles per hour anyway. So we're not really going to suffer any sort of speed penalty just here. Later on we might do when we get the all-powerful electrics. But for the time being, that isn't going to cause us too many issues. Right, so now for some signals. So we'll want one just there. And that will control access into the station. We'll put one just before the tunnel as well, although saying that, we don't really need to clear this block, because if we have one train on the platform and another one waiting here, by the time that this train has got onto the platform, loaded up and is ready to depart, the train that was on the platform previously will be somewhere off down here. So we don't need that short signal, but I like to put one before the tunnels anyway. So yeah, I'm going to stick with it. And then it's just a case of along here putting down a couple of blocks. And of course we need to do some to protect access to this junction here. So I'm thinking we'll allow the iron ore train to have priority by not pushing a signal up close. We'll put a signal there to control access into this block on the junction. And here is where a short signal will help, because if we have another train waiting behind, we want to make sure that this block here is cleared as quickly as possible. So we will put a short signal after the junction in that direction, and we may as well, in fact, do we want to do the same on that side? No, I think we'll leave that side as is, and I think we'll put one more block just there as well, just for parking purposes if this junction starts to get a little bit busy. And maybe one more just there as well. Okay, so that's that done. It's now connected in. We could now just set up the line, but as I said, I'd like to double track this stretch here between this signal and this signal up here. So let's get on with that. So we're going to have to pause it here, because we might have trains coming up to the junction and we don't want them to get all angry at us. So what we'll do is just double track all the way through here. What I should have done actually is just check at what side is the... Okay, we want to come in on this side, because this is the straighter track and this is the bit where it merges in, if you see. So what we're looking for is something like that. Does that look okay? Obviously we will delete that crossover, we don't need it. And then just bring it all back through here. And the handy thing about doing it this way is you don't interact with those access points here from the depot. Although we might have to put a crossover a little bit later, or once we're finished. And what we'll do here is push this back to that signal just there that we can see, and then remove all of the track up to this point here. and then have them connecting nice and smoothly. So bring them to level like that. Bring you out to there. Let's check the speed there, 75, brilliant. So if the inner radius is 75, then you know for a fact that the outer radius is also going to be 75. So bring that like that. Let's put a couple of blocking, in fact before we put the blocking signals in, let's just check access purposes here. So we could have trains wanting to either go that way if we want them to send them down to industries this way first, or this way if we want them to head up towards Carrollton first. So if they're coming this way, then they're already on the right side of the track, so that's not a problem. But here is where we want a crossover so they can get onto the correct side if they're heading towards, well, Fort Lauderdale and Green Bay and everything else down in that direction. What we won't do is put a blocking signal here. Rather, we'd let these trains pass, and these trains that are waiting to come out of the depot will wait here instead. Now we'll do the blocking signals then. So where's our last block? Well, there's the signal that was controlling access to the junction. So we'll start from there. That crossover can now be removed, it's not needed anymore. Back to the signals. And then it's just a case of filling in some blocks along this stretch here, just so things aren't getting held up and waiting for too long. So a block there, and we'll have one just there, and then that signal there, which again was controlling access into the track originally, we'll turn it into a double block like that. Wonderful, we can resume the game now. Everybody's going to be happy and on the correct side of the tracks. Just checking everything down here is double tracked, and indeed it is. So let's see here, we'd like ideally these coal trains to share this platform. They're dropping off coal, so it makes sense to have these new trains drop off on the same platform as well. So can they do that? Do we have a diamond? No, we don't. So they can get onto the platform, not a problem, but they can't get back for the return journey. So what we're going to have to do is convert that switch into a diamond like that. What do we have here? We have the heavyweight 281 parlour, obviously passenger wagon, so we might want to have a quick look at our passenger lines in a few moments and see if we want to upgrade the carriages that we're currently running. Other than that, I think we're ready to go setting up the new line. So let's get that done. So new line it is, and we're coming all the way down here, and we're coming from the Nashville coal mine. We'll colour this black because it is coal that they're transporting. In fact, maybe a dark grey instead. These we want them to have a full load when they leave and wait for as long as that requires, and then they're going to come down here. This should all sort itself out without any problems, but we might need to specify what platform they're coming into here. Yep, they've chosen platform 5, which is what we don't want them to do. Let's stick them onto platform 2. There we go, so they're making use of that diamond switch that we've just installed for them. Everything else is tickety-boo. This shouldn't be too busy. It might be a little crowded down here because we do have the steel heading to the goods factory coming down here as well. But all down here should be fine because it's only the iron and coal trains that run down here, and then obviously from this point we don't have any crowding at all because they're going on their separate ways at this junction just here. Okay, perfect. So let's give it a name that suits. So it'll be RC, it will be coal, and it will be Nashville. Yeah, I think NSHV is more appropriate. So Nashville to Carrollton, which is CLTN, I think we've been using. We can always check and change it if it's not quite right. But yeah, Nashville to Carrollton. There we go. So let's go ahead and get a train for this. Now the problem with this now is they could in theory go this way and go to the steel mill before they head back to the coal mine. We don't want them to do that, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set a one-way signal that way and then a two-way signal this way, and then in the future when we're buying the trains we can control which way they go out by switching these from one-way to two-way and vice versa. So as it stands they can go this way but they cannot go that way. So the only way they can go is to the coal mine first of all, which is obviously just makes a lot more sense. Right, so let's buy the vehicle. I think we'll double head this one. We probably don't need it as long as the iron ore trains, although they will be somewhat comparable. And then let's whack on a whole host of gondolas. Maybe 204 capacity. How does that do on its performance? That's pretty good. I mean, we don't really have any medium grades on at any point on this on the journey, so that shouldn't be a factor. And let's stick on the caboose on the end. To start with, we'll run 2. We might need to either increase the amount of trains we have running or increase the train capacity, but for a starting point I think this will serve us quite well. So just under 30 million, and away they go. So they will go this way as just discussed, because they cannot come out that way. So we'll leave that to do its thing in the background. I was planning on getting the goods brought in to Carrollton as well during this episode. However, because we've just had those heavyweight parlours unlocked, I think it's high time we go and check in on our passenger services and maybe upgrade some of those. So let's have a look at our fleet. Now I'm thinking for the smaller intercity trains, we will stick with what they currently have. So for example, this one here, the William Smith, which runs between New Haven and Haywood, you are running the 6-axle passenger car. I think having the faster, higher capacity coaches on our main line, so anything in and out of Knoxville and soon enough in and out of Carrollton and so on and so forth, it just, I think for the time being, that's what we'll focus on. So what do we have? We have Knoxville to Clarksville, Knoxville to Haywood, and Knoxville to Memphis. So let's see, let's use this train as a guinea pig. So manage vehicles, we'll just select 2 of them so it's not cramping the screen too much while we do a comparison here. So at the moment, in fact no, what we'll do, I've changed my mind, is we'll go to the line manager, that's the one there, sorry, and see which is the most popular. Let's just pull that up so we can see more on the screen at any one time. Only show the railroads, and we're looking at these here, RP. Thankfully they're all grouped together nicely thanks to this identifying tag we have at the start. So which ones, so at the minute Clarksville to Haywood is nice and profitable, so I'm thinking we'll run this on, or we'll test it on any of these. And I'm leaning towards this one here, the Knoxville to Haywood service. It's the highest capacity, it's got a decent rate, although that's even higher. Do we want to do that one? No, we'll do the Knoxville to Haywood one just as a test, and again just select 2 of them so we're not crowding the screen here now. Right, and let's drop off those, go to passenger wagons and the heavyweight parlour. See, if we want to exceed the capacity then, we're going to have to have an extra carriage. With 3, we're short at 57. So we'd have to add an extra carriage on this. Now, is that going to adversely impact the train's performance? 62 miles per hour in 3 minutes or 3.5 kilometres. Well, look at that, it does, doesn't it? I think at the moment then we're better off sticking to this. I mean, these will hold their own when we start getting faster and faster locos. These can top out at 68. These, as we can see, can go up to 112. However, at the moment, we don't have anything that can exceed 68 miles per hour. The fastest we have is the Atlantic, which can do 62. So I think we'll sit on those heavyweight parlours then for the time being. And when we get a faster train, one that can exceed the limit set by the 6-axle passenger car, that's when we'll look at bringing in the heavyweight parlours instead. So we'll head back over to the south side of the map and let's see about maybe getting in some goods from this factory into the city of Carrollton. So we have a platform available, well, we have 3 platforms available, and we already have some infrastructure running down in this direction, but what we don't want is them running into here and then back into here. What we're going to have to do is get a junction somewhere around here that comes through and connects in so they can get straight through and then out and back. Now it won't, well, this junction might get a little bit busy, but this stretch of track won't be too crowded because they will be coming in and then departing immediately to get into the Carrollton freight yard. So I think we'll build the tracks first of all. Well, we've got to build the tracks first of all. We have no choice. So what we'll do is that signal there will be deleted because it's going to have to be replaced when we get these when we get this junction constructed. And we'll pull a line off, maintaining the gradient, get up to 70 without leaving the angle too tight for the rest of the jig. It might be a bit tight, that. Let's just pull it that way a little bit more. 65, there we go. So something like this. Where's the switch? There it is. And like that. And then essentially all we're going to do is hook this into this line somewhere along here. So how does that look on an overlap? Well, we've got 50 miles an hour, which for the time being is absolutely fine. The overlap looks pretty decent to me, so I'll accept that. And then we'll just duplicate that for the inner tracks now. There we go. We don't collide with the road, thankfully. We'd left ourselves just enough space there. And that's all we need. Nice and simple. But we do need to set the signals in and around this junction now because it's being changed. So we're going to need a signal there and there. Can't get any signals in there. So we'll get a clearing signal there and there, just so this junction isn't held up unnecessarily. And then we can probably squeeze in a couple of blocks down here because these trains between the goods factory and Carrollton, they're not going to be huge trains. So let's get some signals controlling, I should say, access there and one there. And then let's get a couple of short ones there and there. That's, yeah, it's a very small block there. Hopefully it won't cause a problem, but if it does, we can just come back to it later on. And can you access both platforms? In fact, there's only one platform open to us at the moment anyway. So what we're going to have to do is we could just come from here into the platform like that. But I think we'll do some... In fact, shall we just do that? It's the simplest thing we can do. And we already have a signal there protecting access to both platforms. And 49 miles per hour isn't too shabby at all in and around a station. So I think just something like that will work. And then we need a way to cross them over. So that signal will have to go. And then if we can just get a short connection like that. 42s are slow. We don't want to go too far. If we can get it to 50, yeah, that's perfect. And then like that, and that signal we just deleted, we'll have to push it to, say, there. So the trains can get back onto the correct side of the tracks as they depart, and then they'll come here, and then go down that way. And that's not messed anything else up. They're still using the platform they were using previously. So at this point then we can get that train set up. In fact, no, we can't, because we need to give them a platform over here, don't we? Now this is a little bit trickier because we have a tunnel almost straight away. So I think one of the best things we can do, even if it's the more expensive option, but it'll keep things nice and tidy, is just have these tracks here separate into separate tracks before the tunnel, like this. And then run these through to the station. And what this will provide is a way like that. Yeah, it'll provide a way to get onto all three remaining platforms. So we'll have one stretch of track which is obviously going to be just dedicated purely to the incoming steel. And then what's getting picked up will come in on this track. And then later on for these two, we might have to think about bringing in even more, an extra two that connect in here, and we have a diamond slip switch, sorry, just a diamond switch just as we leave the station. But for now we don't need to worry about that, so we'll just put some signals on this new stretch of track that we've just constructed. So we'll basically just mirror the signals that are on the existing stretch of track for the time being. We don't want to put them side by side though, because as we can see that overlap just looks weird. Oh, we have the 282 Mikado, which might be a replacement for the Atlantic, and we also have the Mac AC flatbed truck, so that could be a replacement. We also have the tarpaulin variant, of course, so we'll have a look at those in a few moments as well, just before we end. But I want to focus on getting this up and running first of all. So something like that will work, And we might want to put a couple more blocks down here now, because of course we have the steel trains and we're soon to have the goods trains, the outward goods coming down here as well. So a couple extra blocks on this stretch is probably not a bad idea. So new line then, we're coming from the Clearwater North, that needs a rename. Clearwater Goods Factory. There we go. What platform have you decided to go on? Platform 1? Well, please go on to platform 3. There we go. We want these to have a full load, and they won't prevent the steel coming in, because obviously the steel comes in separately on a separate set of tracks, so that's all fine. And colour, the goods are a brownish colour, so I think we'll use that colour just there. So you're coming from the Clearwater Goods Factory into Carrollton. You've opted to share the platform there. I prefer to go into platform 2, if I'm honest, that's better. And yet you're doing that, you're separating there, and then you're coming in there, that's all fine. So again, give it an appropriate name, RC, this is goods, and this is Clearwater to Carrollton, CL10 I believe is what we're using. So we'll accept that, and then we'll go ahead and purchase a train for this. We're not going to need massive trains here, it's only a short distance, so 2 moderate sized trains should be more than enough. And in fact, what is the demand for goods? 120. Okay, 120 a year. So now this is where switching these signals comes into play, so switch them over like that, and that means the trains can now go that way. So let's get this set up. Shall we use the Mikado? We may as well, we've just unlocked it, although it's probably a bit overkill for such a short journey. But what the heck, it's on easy mode, so let's treat ourselves to a Mikado. The boxcars, of course, because they're the ones that handle goods, and I'm thinking about 84 capacity. And then of course we want the caboose on the back as well. 2 of those then, 16.5 million for that, not a problem. Assign them, well we can't because we can't see the line, now we can. So we want you to go on to the Clearwater to Carrollton goods line. There you go. Now they will have to go into Carrollton before they head out to Clearwater, but that's not a problem. It gives time for the platform to fill up, of course. In the meantime, let's just have a quick look and see if any of our coal trains have made a delivery yet. Well, you're almost full, but are you train number 1 or are you train number 2? So you're train 61, so where is number 60? Oh, you've got a full load. How close are you? Ah, you're pretty close, aren't you? I think what we'll do then is I'll just pause the calendar. We'll accelerate it to 4 times, and we'll just have a little overview of this as it arrives into the steel mill, and just see how much money this train or this service is going to be making us per delivery. It's not going to be as much as the iron train, of course, they're substantially bigger, but it should still be a decent amount regardless. So let's just see, shall we? Getting close now. So we'll see the number pop up here, so this is where you want your attention to be brought to. Let's just slow it down so we don't miss it. You're going to make per full load 10.5 million. Yeah, that's not too bad at all, is it? Of course, it wasn't really about making us money, it was about getting more coal being brought into here at a higher rate, and immediately is already on his way out, so that's fine. And in fact, what the heck, we may as well take a ride on this one back to the steel mill. And this will serve as our little cab ride outro for this episode. So I hope you have enjoyed the episode and you are continuing to enjoy the series as a whole. Of course, your comments, feedback and suggestions are welcome either in the comments or over on Discord, a link to which is provided in the description of the video. And as always, I just want to take a little moment to thank those of you who have pledged over on Patreon. Your support is absolutely fantastic and it does mean a lot, so thank you very much for that. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.